This is RPMMORadio.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A podcast all about role-playing and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job!
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Strophe, and Kishmas.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, our peers. Welcome again to RPMMORadio, our 71st episode, Magic and You, Part 2, Using the Dark Arts. I am one of your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, and with me tonight for definitely the first time, not the second time because some idiot that runs the soundboard forgot to unmute everything and none of the show is recording at all. Jazz and Sib, and the one, the only, he of the yellow skin and yellow teeth, Strophe.
Well, hello, with the teeth are white.
True there. How's everybody doing?
Doing well, sir. How about yourself?
Not too bad. You're muted again. See, I'm not the only one that does it.
I've already used up all my material. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm working hard. You guys are all ordering Christmas shit, and I have to deliver all your garbage. 176 packages today. Did you just get attacked by a chupacabra?
No, just a chihuahua who for some reason decided he needed to bark right then at something that's not there.
Why do you have a chihuahua in your house?
I adopted one.
In other words, it got dumped on her and she loves it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that sounds...
One of my clients decided that she was going to run to Florida with a man she just met, literally 4 days before that, who she had been talking to for 2 weeks. And she left behind everything. Food.
Including Pepe.
And including little Lucky.
No.
Yes.
I like Pepe better.
I like Pepe better.
His name is his Lucky, or...
I like to call him Pepe the Lucky.
Fortunato.
Why do people do that with their dogs?
Pedro Fortunato. There we go.
That's a long
We should call him
name.
Pedro, man. That sounds better.
I would vote for him.
Lucky. Or Lucky.
So would I.
I'd totally vote for Pedro.
Yes, I know. Ears are up. He's looking at me.
Well, that was...
Now the Jazz is deep. On
right.
the show.
That was completely random. Way to go, Lucky. No, you're all right. But appreciate everybody tuning in to our show today.
He won't leave my side.
No, he's a good dog.
Yeah, he howls when he has a little separation anxiety for obvious reasons.
Because he was just separated?
Yeah. So he doesn't like me to go out of his sight. So if I put him on the other side of the door, he howls. And that's counterproductive. So
it would be a little bit, yeah. A little bark here and there's funny. It sounds like he's honestly choking on a bone, but that's all right. So we do this every Saturday, 7 Central Time, over at twitch.tv.com/RPMMORadio. Pretty sure that was right. If you haven't subscribed to us, we would appreciate that. You can subscribe, follow, whatever all that stuff is. I want to also give a special thanks to all of our Patreon donors who help keep the show going and keep it on the air being the internet. Especially those at our raid boss level, like the Truth Bob. You can become a Patreon donor over at patreon.com/RPMMORadio. We do appreciate everybody that donates to the show and helps keep it going, and as well as all of our listeners. Yeah, I mean, why would we do it if nobody was really paying attention at all?
Woo! Woo!
I mean, my mom doesn't even listen to this, and it's my mom.
I would listen to my kids' podcast even if it was nauseating.
Yeah, but you're a nerd. My mom's not a nerd.
Well, that's true. I am.
Yeah.
I got Mama Dyer if you're listening to this every once in a while, and Seth for sure, a.k.a. Wacky Choda.
Yeah, who is on duty. And
He is.
He said duty.
And extremely handsome. He is a handsome young man.
He's got it going on.
That's right. I've never seen him. I just assume so. So, appreciate that. If you also, find us over Spotify, Podbean. If you're listening live, it's a podcast. It's, anywhere you get them. If you want to keep up to date, there's the Twitter, there's the Facebook, there's the Instagram, all of which apparently are on the interwebs.
No.
Yes, which for those of you that are not aware, Jazz, the internet is a information superhighway that is connected by a series of tubes under the ground that connect to one another.
Yeah.
This is how I was explained to it when I listened to Congress talk about it.
Yeah, I know.
It was a 78,000-year-old white dude. I'm pretty sure I can trust him.
Yeah.
Just like you can trust everything that you see on the internet.
Oh,
especially if it's on this show.
It's real.
And spoken in a soothing, calm tone like this. See our sponsors later for more details. But, alright, well, enough of that bullshit. So, everyone's had a week. Nobody really cares how it was. Anybody do anything in roleplay this week that wasn't butt-ass boring or stupid?
Few things.
I did some things, yeah.
Alright, well... You did things? No, I don't believe it. I think...
You gotta check the lottery list there, buddy. We put it right by your desk. It's got little notes in it. They all say the same name. Just...
It says here... Haha, made you look, you fucking douchebag. We all hate you. That was not very nice.
That was the wrong. Well, that was.
Is that the? Oh, else. Wait. This is from the janitor.
Yeah, let me trade that. Yeah, here's the right one.
This says, "Haha, your mom."
Give me that one. That was meant for my little brother.
Oh, okay. Wait, what? That's your mom. You're doing a your mom joke to your mom.
You know,
to your brother.
You gotta mix it up sometimes.
I don't think that's how your mom jokes actually. That'd be like
when you live in a family of trolls, your trollery starts running dry. You have to start branching out into different directions, even if it trolls yourself.
So you're like you're like to Wakachoto. You're like, yeah, your mom's so dumb she sits on the TV and watches the couch.
No,
wait.
See, we don't do those jokes. It's like your mom or your face or something ridiculous like.
Oh, so you're like, that when you were a little guy little Wakachoto, you were just as cute as a bug in a rug. I mean, given when you were put in a sandbox by mom, the cat kept trying to bury you, so she wasn't allowed to leave you there unattended. Like that?
No, you're getting it.
I'm pretty sure he could still take you.
Oh, he could take us all.
Ooh, is he buying? Where are we going? Movie time.
Is it sad? I thought the same thing. I thought dinner.
He'll take us Texas Roadhouse. He's good for it.
Oh man, I don't eat that fancy.
That's a steakhouse.
The best I get is Burger King.
Oof.
Yeah, I know they're
you,
terrible.
Sir, got some living to do with the Dierfield clan.
No, I actually can't stand Burger King. Their French fries are garbage, and their hamburgers are unnaturally square.
I like their hamburgers,
I agree.
but I have to have McDonald's fries.
McDonald's, nobody does better than McDonald's fries. I mean, it's just hands down. Yeah. I don't know what black sorcery, which we'll get into later, creates that, but...
Wendy's hamburgers are the ones that are square, not Burger King.
Forget all that. Give me Whataburger and nothing.
Whataburger is good. Whataburger's good. But their fries still aren't McDonald's. Still doesn't count.
What did you say? Whataburger?
Whataburger.
See, I'll get onion rings there instead.
To anybody not listening, Whataburger is a chain usually here in the South Midwestern area.
That's right.
It doesn't...
You guys don't get it.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm. Oh, dude. Okay, so there was this horrible joke. We live in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Now, for those of you that know In-N-Out Burger, it's largely in California and the Nevada area. And the reason for that is because they don't freeze their meat. And so it has to be within their processing plant. Now, down in Texas, they've recently opened a few of them because they opened up another plant. Somebody here in Oklahoma and Broken Arrow where we live did a horrible, horrible joke and created an actual sign that said, Whataburger coming to this location soon, and hung it up like a banner. Yeah, that's not true.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's not funny. That's not funny.
Is what that is.
Yeah, I mean, you like trolls, but there's a point where it stops being a troll and funny, and it's just mean. And that's bullying. And we don't okay, we do allow bullying on this show, but we don't allow food bullying on this show. And I will not stand for it. So, given that this has...
That's that sacred orange W in the sky. I mean, you can't mess with that.
Their fries still aren't that great.
get the
Also,
honorary.
their breakfast taquitos are just breakfast burritos, and they don't know what the word fucking taquito means.
Hey, man.
A taquito has
live
to
up
be
there-
deep fried.
I mean-
You can't have a taquito that's just basically a flour tortilla that's not even
Here in
fried.
Texas- Here in Texas, we remember it differently.
You remember it wrong. You also thought you could defend the Alamo, and look how that world turned out for you, Santana.
Hey, it served its purpose.
Yeah, you
Oh
got
my
all the
God,
missionaries
guys.
killed.
No, we got them
Hey,
out.
show.
Oh, yeah. Is this about roleplay or
Dark
something?
arts.
Holy shit. So, given that Jazz agrees with me that burritos are not taquitos, she gets to go first.
Of course I do.
Way to
Well,
go,
that's
Jazz.
this is your reward.
Yeah.
Epic, long, roundabout way to say Jazz go first.
So let's see. In roleplay, Sunday was the tea house, but it was kind of dead, and nobody really showed up.
Really?
So it ended up calling early, and I went my butt to bed. I was tired, so I didn't really get much roleplay on Sunday at all. Although I was on for a little while, and we did some Telvani stuff to kind of fill in the extra time before I went to bed. So that was fun. Telvani has been very active this week. Couple of spates of really active roleplay for the Telvani. Last night we had our Telvani meeting, and one of the masters left over what was developing on Sunday, and obviously, so I mean it's all I see. But
Okay,
he
I was gonna
left-
say,
he
is it
left
all-
the Telvani.
Okay.
Yeah, he left the Telvani. He didn't leave the guild, and he's still a wonderful role player, and we don't have an issue with it. But his character continues to knock heads with the other masters, and he does the "I'm so evil," kind of like Gargamel instead of like Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, or
I mean-
someone actually evil.
So he got censored. He said, "If you're going to try to censor me, then I'm going to leave." So he left. So I mean, it's not complicated, but it was a lot of role play at a very we had not planned on that. Our meeting had actually gone fairly quickly, but we kind of cascaded into this whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny how it can do that sometimes, where you start off thinking it's not going to be.
Oh yeah, we're almost done, and then
Yeah. 1 o'clock in the morning, wham, we're still going. It was like, okay, guys.
I need to
So-
slay.
Yeah, I gotta go. So that was Sunday and Friday. Monday, my husband and I leveled our wizards, and we're pushing towards 50. We're almost there. We're at 48, so that's kind of cool. Then we also have the Argonian Guild that we joined, which Coda some I can't ever remember the name of the guild. It's in Coda Surpak. There we go. And
Also known as about to be enslaved by the Dunmer.
shush.
but undone.
Anyway,
Somebody's got to speak for Kishmas.
All
they
right,
had
you ready?
a
You ready,
naming
Super?
ceremony of a person coming to age, so that was kind of
Hippity
cool
hoppity.
because we got to see the lore in action, so that was kind of cool.
Argonians are Dunmer property.
Sorry. We
She
love you,
did it.
Jazz.
It's not my fault.
Love you, Jazz.
It wasn't me, Jazz. Can't get on to me for that one.
Oh, I don't know.
We're just channeling our inner Kishmas.
Yeah.
Listen, somebody's got to do it.
Listen. So that sounds pretty good. It's
So
funny how
that
those little
was
things blow up
Monday.
like that.
Yeah, and the Argonian Guild stuff has been a lot of fun, and they've been pretty active. I haven't been able to attend most of their stuff because it either happens before or after I go to bed, or before I get on. So, but I have made a couple of them, like the coming of age ceremony, which was really cool. And my husband actually got to get on and log. Get on in RP before he had to log. So we leveled for a little while on Monday, and then we both went to this event. And he got to roleplay as his character, which, as he doesn't get a chance to roleplay much anymore.
Yeah, he
So that
doesn't
was
get
a
to
lot
do
of
that much anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was nice because I got to roleplay with him, and I got to watch him and kind of interact a little bit with the new guild. So that was fun. Tuesday was poetry night. It was very quiet. We ended early, and I went to bed. Wednesday was an open night, and I just kind of roleplayed on various characters. Nothing really happened, and I went to bed early. I haven't been feeling very well, and there's been a lot of it's holidays, so stress shit. So
Mhm.
I tend to go to bed earlier when I'm not feeling very good. Thursday was guild night, and it went quite a while, and we had a good time. Nothing earth-shaking, but it was a lot of fun. We have another guild that we've been role-playing with that comes to our events, and we go to theirs. So that's always fun because we're getting an influx of people to role-play with, and I like building that. I still haven't been able to get Zasher into the new guild, the Dorothy Guild. They just, between their schedule and my schedule, it just hasn't worked. So, and then last night was the Telvanni thing. So that's my whole week, pretty much in a nutshell.
Snazzy. What about you, Sib?
Well, let's see. I actually had 2 nights of RP, which has been nice because I haven't been able to be on much at all. And that's due to real life issues. But I went to the Monday night thing that Jazz was talking about, the Argonian coming of age ceremony, which is really neat because I have the Argonians are something I know nothing about. So it's going to be fun to be in this guild just to learn and the lore and stuff, because these guys seem like they know their stuff when it comes to the Argonians. She's just pretty much, she's not there's nothing really crazy about my character. So, I mean, she just stood there and watched and then congratulated I can't think of the new one's name. It started with an A. I probably couldn't even pronounce it. It's one of those unique names.
Yeah, the guy that would have the coming of age ceremony begins with an X, but
an X. Okay, yeah, but I couldn't pronounce it.
No,
but nope, that was kind of neat and to watch and see what happens. They actually apparently change their whole physical being changes, and they like morph into like a massive Argonian from this little bitty scrawny thing. After they drink the
they basically are doing the whole grow up kind of all at once.
Yeah, but it was neat to see. And then the other RP I had was with last night. I managed to log in and went to the Telvanni meeting, which I was on my little Kilvin, and she listened to all the rules and everything, and she's not fully a member. I don't think she is yet. And Rufus, Strafe's character, tried to help her get tasks, but she's like, I don't know if I can accept these or not because I don't think I'm a member, actually. And so they were.
Yeah, you have been accepted in. You did your tasks to get in, didn't you?
No, well, I haven't turned it in. I was waiting on Sully.
Oh, because I was late. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And no, don't be sorry.
Be sorry.
No, but don't be sorry.
You ruin everything you touch.
She stood there and chatted it up with Lenny. Yeah.
Leonidas.
It looks like that, but I don't think that's how you pronounce it. But no, she sat there and chatted with him and Rufus because those are the only 2 people she really knows. And she showed whenever her task was to go get a mechanical spider, and she went and got one with Leonidas. Or I'm just gonna say Leonidas, and she left it where they were having a drink afterwards, so she had to go back and get another one. And he's like, "So you're gonna just give Sully that one?" And she's like, "Yeah, she didn't see the first one, so how will she know it's a different one?" He's like, "Good luck with that." And she's like, "Well," she goes, and Kilvin's way of thinking is, technically I didn't give her anything yet, so this is the first thing I'm giving her.
Yeah, it doesn't gonna matter because as long as she gets it, she doesn't care how many times you had to go and get it, as long as she gets it. So yeah,
it was kind of funny because Kilvin's mind is like, this works. In her mind, it works, and he was like, okay. But no, I figure I'll catch you sometime this week and hopefully be able to RP and give it to you. I just couldn't.
Then next week we can, or this next Friday, we can just advance her while she's there. You can just, if we don't manage to hook up, we'll just advance you. Right, I won't be late again.
I just couldn't stay on. I was on for, I could do good to about 2 hours, and then I'm like, I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rolled in late, but I did. You were there, I think, just as I rolled in. But
I was, but I was just getting ready to take off when you came in.
yeah,
Yeah, 2.5 hours is her sitting limit right now.
yeah, no, that's understandable.
But no, I was just happy that I got that. So
Yeah. All right, Straffia.
Do it the old way, the way we're supposed to do it, right?
You can do it however you want. So it's the end of the year. I mean, fuck it, or whatever. No, just whatever.
Are you saying we're all burnt out?
It's the end of the year. You know, it's kind of like before you go, like that last day before you're on a vacation, and you just like you're at work, but are you really?
Well, we're kind of at work, but not
I
really.
mean, exactly.
True.
And I mean, we only got this and one more episode, and then we're done for like 3 weeks, and then we'll start up next year all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and so you know, we're just
back to reading it as our characters, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I miss doing that. Because I have so many characters.
Yeah, well, I think we'll just end up having to pick one.
Oh, okay.
Alcoholics Anonymous, Jazz.
Yeah, you just tell us, just tell the story. But I haven't had any like real role play worth even doing that about. So I don't know, but you know, so
the poetry hour went off as it normally did. We had more in attendance this time. It was just so. And again, the same 4 people read the same amount of poems. We did have an increase in visitors, but they sat back, tried to look scary in the background, or sat there. I will say that Lord Quinn showed up in a rather dashing merchant's outfit. Almost made him look like a djinn in an old story of a genie's lamp. No one dared tell him how cool he looks, because if we did, he would immediately storm off and put on something ridiculous and glowing. So we just let the point alone, handed him a tall drink, and let him sit there looking self-important. Poetry hour wound down, and my dear niece canceled the hour. To my great joy, because we were all tired, even the guests seemed tired, but they stuck around for some time after. I believe Lord Stranrick had the bar. That would explain the empty bottles and the mess the next morning, and no one in sight to claim responsibility. That was Trath. Other than that, let's see, Rufus. So this one on Guild Night. You know, he took a break from skulking around, watching that gold elf, fixing the wall at Lord Cave's house because, you know, he's a good boss, but he's a little lousy and sometimes in the tasks. So I snuck to the guild hall, and they were all there in the big cave, no less. And because my master hates all caves, hates the caves, he was not in the big cave. So I took all my yarn balls, and it was a fun time. Not only did I get scritches and pets from multiple strange women, of which Rufus does not acknowledge or say it's a bad thing, but the boss seems to think it's abominable. This one does not care so much. He went behind the bar, did the dance of joy, gathered smiles all around, again got scritches, had plenty of moon sugar. This one cannot remember half of this meeting. He does know he gave moon sugar to some little Bosma girl with red hair. I think her name was Ella something. No matter, she scratched behind my ears and it was all good. At some point, I found a juicy steak and wandered off. The problem is, the next day was the Telvanni meeting. And this one, you know, he has the issue with the mead myrrh. But for some reason, mostly from the boss cave, said go back and join them because I need my lizard eyes there. Who knows why the Lord Argonian wants what he wants, but he wants it, so this one goes. Apparently, the evil, mean, and haughty librarian has long since gone the way of the dodo. And if she has not, she is not around, so this one does not care. So he can stand around and smile. So smiles all around, except for Lord Dalator. He had his mask on, so this one had to put his mask on to look scary. It is only an effect to look mean, because they all want to look mean, but they're all... What's the word? Oh, you know, the porcupines, but inside they're all the soft and tender, like the yarn ball, without the spikes. Yes, that. So I turned in my task, which was easy, because this Imperial named Lenny, he helped me. We got a task from Dalatory. Imagine these stones on this one. I betray him, and I come back and ask for a job. He gives me. This one thinks Lord Master Dalatory has problems upstairs, yes? This is no matter. Task 1 is complete. 2 more tasks to do, which are really the flaming hoops. They just keep raising them a little bit higher. Khajiit will jump through and not burn his tail. And then he will get back to level 2 nobody. He saw the Kilvin with her crazy hairdo. He wants to mess it up some days. But, this one will wait. He will bide his time. Like touching Caves on the tail and running away before he gets swiped in the face. It can be done, but you have to be sneaky. So after they did their self-important talks, apparently somebody was mad about cubs being experimented on. I followed. Mostly I wanted to talk to Sully because, this one can bomb at least 2 bowls of milk out of her if he says just the right things. And, she kind of pays me to watch that stupid golden mirror in his tall little house. But she was busy dealing with them. We went to Master Tava's house. And after a time, some other masked men showed up. And they were screeching at another master, which had nothing to do with it. This one thought it was quite odd. Like her tail was on fire for getting caught in some kind of funny story, and now she was backpedaling. Like the Khajiit, they got their hand caught in the cookie jar. Or more so, the moon sugar jar. All in all, when this one saw a way to escape and jump over the wall, he did. And then he went back to Stay Moist Manor. He continued to work on the wall so Caves would not yell at me in the morning. After that, I snuck into Trethal's little cabin. And I stretched out and threw yarn everywhere. He shall have a fun time next time he goes. And that's what I did in roleplay this week.
That's awesome.
He's a good little troll.
Not too shabby. Leltalinus. That's how you pronounce it.
Letalinus is what I say.
I remember it as Lenny.
I'm pretty sure it's lettuce Linus.
No.
Lettuce lean honest.
Lettuce lean honest. I'm pretty sure that's
I think it's lettuce lead us. No.
I was gonna join you with Kizdian Monday, but I didn't see you around, and when I did see you around, I was already.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, Monday they did it was the crossover thing where they were with the two clergy. And Tarvala, she's still injured, so sneaking around a giant zone while being crouched is not in the cards for her while her leg is still healing, because that would be not fast.
It would be an easy target.
It would be.
Well, I'm making an effort to come by and check on Tarvala because I hadn't seen her in a while in Kizdian.
Yeah, I've just been it's just been kind of busy. It's this time of year, it's hard to get really the motivation just to role play and do that kind of stuff because it's exhausting after working, delivering packages 5,000 times a day. But
the RP is dying. We all know it.
Yeah. That's what happens. But it's also there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I'm hoping I do have 2 new people coming into war that I've got to think of mastery for, which is like a series of small quests that they'll do together probably, and I think I've got a good idea on that, but I've not done it yet because I got to find out what their schedule is like and my schedule, which is always fluctuating. So, but
you got Kizdi to freaking berate and punish.
Yeah,
so you got to do some of that stuff too. He's just an initiative.
Throw you out the window, see if you can fly. But no, I really haven't done too much. Just playing my single player games because it doesn't require nearly as much thought or patience. And Smash Brothers Ultimate came out yesterday, so kind of looking forward to that as well. It's a lot of people to smash with, a lot of smashing going on. So I really haven't, I've just not had a whole lot. I'm hoping I've been playing a lot. Actually, have been playing a little Star Wars: The Old Republic, but that was been more for the story. Though I do see a lot of people out and about in the world that seems like probably 4 out of 5, at least in the newbie zones, 4 out of 5, like, are you looking for a guild is roleplay related. So that's actually pretty positive.
I've been seeing a lot more roleplay guilds forming up. That's
Yeah, I don't know how many of them are good or active. I can't, or anything like that. But going through Korriban and Dromon Koss, the beginning zones, it was literally like every 3 or 4 out of 5 was a roleplay guild. It was almost never just a normal like PvP or a raiding guild or things like that. It was all roleplay. So I was, still see a lot of people on the fleet. I haven't engaged or anything like that. Mostly, I just kind of wanted to see the story quest, but I might give it a shot and see what's going on out there, just as something to check out. But so kind of still the home is just, man, it does take a lot of energy to role play, and when you work in 10 or 12 hours in a day, and moving around a lot,
man. I did 10-hour to 9-hour days all freaking week today.
Yeah, it's really the only thing you want. All I want to do is come home and eat something, grab a drink, and then just fall asleep.
Yeah,
it's
man.
just
I feel
exhausting.
your pain.
So, but enough of my boredom and my horrible work life. I'm sure I've got it worse than anybody else, because that's what we're always supposed to say. But, all right, well, let's go ahead before we hit our main topic and going into the dark magic and see what we have as a sponsor this week. Magic school not working out like you had hoped? Did it fail to provide you with a working knowledge to get you gainfully employed in one of the top magical fields? Did the concepts of things like morality and ethics just confuse and irritate you? Did your teachers tell you that the abilities you seek are unnatural? Well, have no worry, my highly indebted friend. Your pals at Crapco are here for you. Introducing Necromancy Household Kit for Beginners. Young or old, this handy beginner's kit comes with everything you need to learn the age-old and time-tested job skills of raising the dead. Bring back loved pets, friends, family, or that homeless guy that totally jumped out in front of you that one night when you were looking at your nose hairs in the rearview mirror. This kit comes with everything a brand new necromancer in training needs, including test tubes, the souls of the innocent, beakers, eye of newt, spleen of wombat, more test tubes, human blood, and of course, Necronomicon Jr., a beginner's guide to resurrection. In just a few short weeks, you'll master the art. But wait, there's more. Call now and get the next kit for just half off. That's right, you'll get Necromancy Household School Kit, Liches, and beyond. Learn to turn yourself into the great undead warlord you always felt you should have been. Act fast, though. Supplies are limited, as feeble enemies that stand against you. Crapco is not responsible for rotting flesh, armies of undead, zombie apocalypses, desire for brain, body odor, or the gum disease known as gingivitis. Crapco. We're here because no one else is. Well, there you go. Get your necromancy kit today, kids.
I think I'll be.
You gotta watch that gingivitis.
The gingivitis is. You gotta be careful with that. But they are not responsible for that, and neither is this show or any of its sponsors.
Imagine if you got that kit with the Necronomicon proper, you could do a whole lot of damage.
I think that comes in probably after the Liches and Other Stuff edition. Probably, yeah. I mean, you can't just jump into the Necronomicon. I mean, we got Necronomicon Jr., you got the young adult Necronomicon that usually has sparkling vampires in it. I think it teaches you how to dust them rather quickly, and then raise them again to do your bidding, like things that you don't want to do, like watch Twilight. So that you don't have to. It's still a cool joke, right? Like that 20-year-old movie now. I don't know When did that come out? Like
a long ass time ago.
Like 1980, I think it was. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead into our main topics. Continuing on with our magical discussion. For those that didn't hear last week's episode, this is kind of like watching a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. If you haven't seen Ant-Man 2, you're not going to understand anything in this episode.
Guess I'm in trouble.
Yeah, probably. It was actually a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you really should. By the way, that new Civil War, or not Civil War, but the Avengers Endgame trailer. Awesome. Good stuff. Of course, by the time someone's listening to this, they're like, that was like 5 years ago. We're from the future. So, with that, keeping in mind, all the stuff we went over in the last episode of the Conjuration, different ways that magic is used and things like that, we're going to bounce off of that, and for this episode, we're going to mostly focus on the dark magic, and next week, which will be our final episode for the year, we're going to focus on the more neutral and light side magics. We're combining those two because, frankly, they're boring and nobody ever roleplays them anyway.
Uh-huh.
Or just because they actually kind of, I don't know. Maybe is it just me that when you hear like a neutral magic, you're like, oh, so it's still good. It's like, it's not necessary. It's definitely not evil, but neutral is really more, it's like good -1. Is that just,
it's the gray area of, you can get away with doing that.
Like, I don't consider nature evil. I would, it's both kind of has good and bad. It kills and it's reborn, but it's kind of like, it's beautiful, and that's good. So beautiful nature is good.
You're playing light side and the old nice little republic, and you're like, I just kind of want force lightning. And yes, I'm going to take a hit because I'm not dark side, but I don't care. I can still like.
But unlimited power.
That's right.
Right, yeah. So keeping all that in mind, this is also for RP purposes, and as much of this is drawn from fiction, which draws from history and lore, things like Wicca, jazz, witchcraft, devil worship, well, you're going to back me up on this. Not all of these things really have anything to do with one or the other. They just always get lumped into the same thing. See that new Sabrina show where she's a witch, but they're all worshiping the Dark Lord and the devil. And it's like there's literally nothing connected to the two.
It's a fun show, and I like it.
Watched.
It has nothing accurate about it.
I've seen a lot of complaints about that. I'm like, just shut up and watch the show. It's not bad. There's no talking cat yet, which is a huge disappointment. But
yes, I was pissed off about that. I love the talking cat.
Apparently, they're saying Salem will have an actual that may change in the second season. That I guess it's building to that. That's what I heard anyway.
Well, I hope so because I loved Salem.
Yeah, he was actually pretty. He was pretty good. One thing that really irritated me with that was the ant, the British one, the little stubby one. Took me forever to remember where the fuck I'd seen her from. She was the little British lady in Wonder Woman that was always following her around. It was driving me out of my mind because I've only seen her in Wonder Woman the one time, but it's really not bad. But it acts like we were saying, this is all for RP purposes. If you don't know about Wicca, you don't know about witchcraft, devil worship, and all those, the only thing that's connected to them is that they all have the W in their words. That's literally probably the only thing. I can't think of much else. Maybe.
No, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I'm not a practicing any of those. But I am fascinated by, I guess you could call it the occult and things like that.
Yes.
So in the Wicca stuff it's never as it's portrayed ever. Is that accurate, Jazz?
Most people have absolutely no concept. Like, people will say that a pagan and a Wiccan are the same things.
Right. Also, not related.
No, they're not. Well, they are related, sort of.
Well, yeah, okay.
The same way that Christians and Catholics are related.
Right. They all
There's
have...
a difference.
There's a Jesus involved.
Array. Yeah, there you go. But that's about the only thing that they have in common, is that they kind of nature-y, but Wicca worships God, an actual god, and most pagans, well, not most pagans, but a lot of general pagans just worship nature.
Yeah, it just like, and with pagans, it's the same as like the Christian thing. With
there's different sects of it.
There's Baptist pagans, there's
Baptist
Presbyterian pagans,
no,
there's Presbyterian pagans. It's all the
stop.
You know what I'm saying though. There's the different there's different versions of them.
Yes, there is. There's pagans that worship Norse gods.
I just like irritating the shit out of her.
Yes, you did. I was about ready to come and slap you.
Like I said, it's not represented accurately almost anywhere, including here.
Yeah,
I could slap him. He couldn't slap me back.
But are you sure?
That would be wounded privilege, wouldn't it?
That would be wounded privilege. I would also feel really bad because it would make me a horrible person to slap my wife.
Yeah, you better not do that.
Especially when she didn't ask for it. Hello.
Like that thing on Jessica Jones. I wouldn't hit a guy in a wheelchair.
She pulls him out of the wheelchair.
Now you're not in a wheelchair.
Oh, man.
Good stuff. Hey, could you turn that fan on above us? Because I am boiling.
Yeah.
Please.
Hold on.
Thank you.
I mean, the Defenders was cool. I love that moment. They get blown through a wall, and freaking Luke Cage land on her. She looks at it and goes, "Remember this?" And he's like, "Oh, what?"
There's some good moments. We just finished Punisher, and we're going through it now that somebody's got some time on their hands. So, but that has absolutely nothing to do with Wicca, witchcraft, or devil worship, or the spawns of evil. So really, what we're doing is we're not talking about any of this shit in a real world sense, really, but more on how to explain dark magic and how to help give a dark magic using character a little bit of depth and how it works outside of does black magic, and I summon the devil. I am evil, like the fruits of the devil. That's no, you're not. Little in depth kind of helps. Just a scooch.
When I see those guys in roleplay, like there's a Neverwinter Nights, the original one made by BioWare. They had different voices you could pick for your character, kind of like an ESO.
Yeah.
And one was like, "You cannot fathom my power," and it sounded like some little nerd guy, like Insidious robes, like shouting stuff that he should not be shouting. So every time I see these dudes in game, I hear that voice.
Yeah, that's what you hear. God. Yeah, see, like, at least when they did it, it was for comedy. When some of the role players do it, they're being serious.
Yeah, they're being very serious, and I can't help but feel like they're channeling Gargamel and the Smurfs. So.
Yeah, which he was the embodiment of capitalism. So, did you ever catch that?
What?
Gargamel was capitalism.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure. I was like...
I was not following what you were saying for a second there. I was, what? Yeah. No, yeah. I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. Small men under the Red Father. Smurf. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a big communist, the guy that created that show. And man, the networks had no idea. It's kind of like the guy that created Invader Zim getting WTF in the intro, because at the time he created that, nobody knew internet slang yet. Yeah. So Nickelodeon show has WTF right in the intro on a radio station tower.
The only scary thing about the whole Smurf thing, man, is there was one lady in that whole little community.
I know,
I'm
right?
like, I'm good. I choose life.
She's
and
better
she produced a child.
God, my skin just crawled.
Yeah, and that's how dark elves are made.
Inkies!
Pretty much.
All right, so dark magic, or black magic, is a practice of the evil and not good side of magic, because, it's dark, or it's black, racist. Often they inflict harm or break the balance of nature, or work against natural laws. Raising the dead, summoning demons, talking to French Canadians, a shitty song that I found by some dumb group called Little Magic that fucking ruined every search I did for black magic.
Yes.
and that I did suffer a solid 30 seconds through, and it was basically the worst thing that I have ever had to do for this show out of curiosity. Modern music is terrible. But anyway, I think what was sad is it had millions of hits. So bad. So, but what if they, and for the characters themselves, what if they actually don't see it, as evil? Most characters, like if you're playing an evil character, you really shouldn't be playing an evil character. You shouldn't be playing, it shouldn't be a Skeletor where like, I am evil. They know where that's like, everything I do is evil and I like to be evil, or the...
I have the power!
Right.
That's
Or,
bro.
Yeah.
I know, but it's...
But yeah, shit still works because, like, yeah, and what was the worst villains ever for those that remember it from our generation? Captain Planet. All the bad guys in that were like, I like to pollute the atmosphere. I'm gonna drop this sludge into this kindergarten playground. No, nobody's really, given. Yes, there are bad companies that do that, but they're not like, it's more like, I want to save a lot of money and make profit, and I don't care that I'm going to pollute this kindergarten playground 5 miles away. It's a little different. At least one is actually more compelling, at least if you watch it in, Daredevil. Like Wilson Fisk, if he was like, I just like to ruin New York for the sake of it. No, that would make a good character. Wilson Fisk is an awesome character because he is evil, but he doesn't come out like, oh, I'm going to be out here to do evil deeds. So you kind of have to look at it like this. When you're playing somebody that does dark magic, and this is how I see it in my own headspace, if you will. You kind of have to look at like criminals, like people, that are okay. I want to say criminals. I don't mean the guy that like fell through on a security camera and is seen falling through like the grocery store tiles because he slipped and had no idea, or the guy that like bounces a rock off a window and knocks his ass out with his own rock. Not those guys. I'm talking like actual good criminals, like Breaking Bad, ones that know what the fuck they're doing. They know what they're doing is wrong and illegal, but often they just don't care, or if they do care, the money and power that they gain from doing what is wrong and illegal far outweighs the consequences of what they're doing. And for me, dark magic is a lot like that. Often the user knows that it's a forbidden magic, that it's dangerous, that it can get you killed or can get other killed, but it's a quicker, easier path to power. I mean, that's one of the concepts in Star Wars with the dark side of the Force. It's quicker, it's easier, and forever will it dominate your destiny.
I do not feel the dark side as you do, Obi-Wan.
Shut up, whiner. Sorry, that's just
you
what everyone wants.
You underestimate my power.
I have the high ground. Can't hear you, high ground.
Anyway.
High ground.
And
high ground.
I mean, it was Darth issues. What do you expect?
Yeah, that's true. Never mind that in the episode 1, Obi-Wan not only had the low ground, but he had the low ground hanging off of a scaffold, hanging off of a light fixture, managed to jump over it, and then cut a guy in half.
Yeah, he still won.
But see, that's just lazy writing, as Deadpool would say. But yeah, for me, like using the dark magics, it's a means to an end. It's the whole the ends justify the means. It's not a great way to. It's really not a good life philosophy for most things, because maybe it's great for you, but the little people that are the justification for the means, they would probably rather live. Just a thought, maybe. So another thing too with this is, does dark magic equal evil? Kind of, sorta, but it doesn't have to. Like we'd said, most great villains or evildoers, they don't actually see themselves as evil. They're not, Skeletor and the Captain Planet guys.
That is a very important point, and I think a lot of people miss that point. That true evil. If you asked Vaka if she was evil, she would tell you no.
Mm-hmm. And
But to the outsider looking in,
Yeah.
she very much was.
And old Xanis, before he was touched to feel what he had, feel what he had done when he was evil, killing villagers and all the pillaging and all that. He was evil, but he wouldn't have thought that. He was just doing his job, and he just enjoyed it a lot. Later on, he knew he was evil.
Right. So
he was a lot cooler when he was evil. Just saying.
A lot of people, when they're like Rengots, I feel, would probably say that he definitely isn't a good person, but I don't think he really saw himself as evil either. I think he saw himself as correct.
He saw himself as correct, doing the will of the Empire. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
He was doing
I would
his-
have said, looking because I didn't know the character. Well, I knew little about the character at the time. I would have said he's evil.
Yes. And
But-
most people looked at Vodka and thought the same thing, but she would never have believed that.
Right, and that's where you have to come at. You have to, and for someone like your character Rengots, he was neutral in his head. Yes, he was obviously evil by most normal standards, but in his mind, he was doing a duty. It wasn't really anything other than duty. He was doing what he had to do. Duty.
But no, and would it be? I mean, in his mind, would it? Like a dark elf. Okay, you take a dark elf. In the dark elf society, a lot of the things looking in
Very clearly
as an
evil.
outsider are clearly evil. But in the dark elf society, they're not considered evil.
Mm-mm.
It's a means to an end.
Yeah,
It's the way it's the way they are. So
it's the way they're raised. Yeah, it's kind of it's like a lot of things in the real world. You go to different parts of our world, and in some parts of the world, it's there. Everybody here in the States and places like Canada or Australia or even Europe and things like that. We all think everybody thinks exactly in a similar way. We generally want to do good and things like that. But really,
you're
it's
so wrong. Australia doesn't exist.
that is true, and it's upside down if it did.
I
But
never mind you.
But like there are places that don't they don't think like that. Was it that the idiot that he's actually from here in Oklahoma, and everyone's all broken up about it. But the idiot that tried to bring Christianity to the island, the tribal island in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, the Sentinel Island?
Yeah, it's like that nobody was supposed to make contact with, and they killed him. Now, are they evil? No, they were protecting. They had no idea what the fuck was going on. Someone was outsider had come to their island, and they did what I assume they probably had to do to defend it.
Well, I mean, when civilization, there was was there a big storm, and they sent helicopters to check on them to make sure they were okay because their little island was ravaged.
Oh yeah, they were throwing spears at it.
Spears at them. I mean, these are not people. They don't see themselves as evil. They see us as evil.
Yeah, well,
they had already moved to the
encroaching on their world.
They'd already moved to the high ground without any notice.
Yeah, they had the high ground, so they were safe. and they managed to kill Anakin for it.
And it's like, well, they can watch the weather as much as we can, and
birds and animals act funny and stupid. It's stuff that we would notice if we were paying any attention anymore, but we don't. We just, we're not that in tune with our environment anymore. Mostly because our environment is covered in concrete, and it's a little hard to, notice all the birds are no longer around or flying in a funny direction. But like I said, those guys, they're living. That's their culture. They don't know what's going on. There's nothing, yeah, it sucks the guy went there, and it was really butt stupid and frankly selfish of him to contaminate things
and
like that.
he inadvertently caused their end.
Yeah, and if he had a sniffle, he could have killed them all off,
Right.
I mean, he broke many laws to go do that.
Oh yeah, he
thought he meant well, but yeah, you're still
butt stupid.
You're supposed to respect the local laws, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It even tells you in Christianity. I'm like, what do you?
Yeah,
I shook my head when I read that.
Yeah, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, respect the local laws, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
No, I'm from Oklahoma. we don't follow that here. In our state, you're not allowed to go whaling from your car. I want you guys to remember that if you ever visit us.
So no wailing from your car.
There is an actual law in our there's an actual. Well, I've gone through the list of stupid state rules. That's actually a state. state law. No whaling from your vehicle in the state of Oklahoma.
Did they mean fishing?
No, whaling. It says whaling. I assume it was somebody that was like, like probably in the 60s, like, hey, Frank, watch this.
Yeah, I'm saying hold my beer. Let's see if we can do this. Yeah.
Let me see if I can sneak this in this, in this economic bill or something. But, so getting back, sorry, for those that aren't aware, Oklahoma is a landlocked state, nowhere near an ocean. Although we do have a blue whale in Catoosa, but it is made out of plaster. And you're not allowed to fish for it from your car window either, apparently.
And for those that are just now joining us or have never joined us before, we go off on tangents.
There's a few tangents. Yeah. I'm tired. My brain is completely all over the
This is nothing new.
This is my ADHD that I have prescribed myself that I have because
the wild war chase. It's got to happen sometimes.
Because I'm an American and I have WebMD.
WebMD.
WebMD has spoken. So, good villains. Most great villains and evildoers. Like we said, you don't see them, or they don't see themselves as evil. They're just doing what those, in a lot of places, those weaker than them are unwilling to do. Often even for like the greater good, and the ends justifies the means, that kind of thing. Like
another good villain, the one off Spider-Man, the Vulture.
Vulture, yeah, he was a great villain, and he was a family man.
Yes,
and he's honestly, I think, even probably better than Thanos. I think he was probably their best villain, the most Black Panther. There's another Monger. Is it Hate-Monger? Killmonger. Killmonger. He was another really good villain because they were the dichotomy of, Black Panther was the Martin Luther King and he was the Malcolm X. They both wanted the same thing for their people, which is for them to prosper. They just had different ways in which they wanted to do it. One of them was kind of through peace and passive, being passive, at least in their thing, and the other one was through violence and fighting and going up again, bringing toe to toe and going head to head with things to change the hearts and minds of people. And they were both excellent villains. And the Vulture thing, he was a family man. He did everything he did just to try to put food on his table. And anything that threatened that, he would get it out of his way in whatever way he had to. Mm-hmm. The other one was, we're using a Marvel one because basically everybody understands that. We'd use DC, but nobody's seen many of those movies.
Because they don't exist.
They're just
Made me think of that Fred Savage.
Honestly, they're just so bad. Yeah, the DC movies. It's like, if you haven't seen the new Deadpool PG-13, go watch those. You'll enjoy them. But Thanos from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he didn't want to kill off half of the universe. Spoilers. In his mind, he had to. He didn't want to do that, but he felt, in his twisted logic, that the only way to save everybody and the universe itself and its resources was to kill off half of every living thing. Emperor Palpatine. He wasn't like just the dark side of the Force, and his actual goals, especially if you really get into the Star Wars universe, he was there to bring order to the galaxy. He wanted to take away all the chaos, all the infighting, all the tiny wars and squabbles and the stupid stuff, and just bring absolute iron-fisted order. And sure, some people would have it probably a little rough, but the rest of everything would live in order
for a safe and civil society until those dirty terrorist rebels start showing up.
Exactly. And of course the thing is, hopefully in real life, most people realize murdering half the galaxy or subjugating quote unquote lesser races for the benefit of others is actually evil. It's not a good idea. It's not a platform on your political plate that you would probably want to run with. Just for example, I mean, if the Republicans or the Democrats came out and was like, I also believe that if elected, I will kill off 50% of the American people so that the other 50% can have it better. I don't think that would go over great with anybody.
No, that ain't gonna
I
fly.
don't think it would.
I mean, there'd be some college professors that'd be like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. But most of them would be like, what about me? Am I in that 50%? You know? Yeah. It doesn't it doesn't work out.
For me, they better brag a sack lunch and lots of ammo because I'm going down.
Yeah. Oh, there would be a thing. Except for Texas, because we're not going near that state. There's more guns per person than people.
Let's get a bullhorn and say, I'll stack commies high. Come on in. Right, so
Wolverine's rule. I'm just saying.
yeah, true.
So, but but for your characters and stuff, you know this shit is evil. That's fine. You should be able to put this stuff aside and use that to know and put that into your character's motivation. The thirst for power. And just not have it played out that you're playing, that the character himself sees himself as evil. In their own mind's eye, if they see themselves as evil, they're probably a lunatic. I mean, they're definitely not right. It's like one of those things where, people that worry if they're crazy or things like that, they're probably actually sane. They're probably fine. The ones you really have to worry about are the ones and you see them online. Usually they're very narcissistic. They're the ones trying to prove how smart they are and that they're always correct and they're the most sane person that you'll ever meet. That guy's a lunatic.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Across the board.
right, for me personally, I would assume maybe 15 or 20% of what I think I actually know for fact of everything I know in my life. 15-20% of that probably wrong. I don't know what 15 or 20% that would be, so I can't really weed it out. But when I find it, I'll switch that part. I'm not perfect. Unfortunately, my last name is not Christ. And my first name is not Jesus.
Good old JC.
That's right. So and until I reach that mark, I am going to be a very flawed and messed up individual. But if you are playing, a dark magic user or something like that that's supposed to be evil, like I said, you don't want them to think of themselves as evil, and especially, please, for all that is good and holy, joke intended, don't equate evil with just being a jerk. Being a jerk, as we've said, isn't evil. It just means you don't know how to portray evil correctly. Just being a dick to people isn't evil. It's just being a dick. Yep. I can. I can walk by the guy at Walmart tonight that asked me if I had some change, which I honestly didn't have a nickel or a dollar in my pocket. And I could have been like, yeah, get a job, you homeless piece of shit. Or I don't know if he was homeless, but yeah, I could have done that. That wouldn't make me evil. It just make me an asshole.
Yeah. It's like walking by the guys ringing the bell for...
yeah, they're everywhere right now.
They're in front of the stores.
Salvation Army.
Salvation Army, sorry. It's been a week. Just like yours.
Yeah.
And, they ring the bell and you feel kind of guilty. And if you have change, yeah, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have change, you're like, awkward moment.
I gave it the office.
Do I be a dick? Yeah, exactly. Do I be a dick and say something like ridiculous or just keep walking?
No, I just say Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that works too.
And move on. It's I don't how many
right, but
people,
it doesn't mean you gotta
how many
like,
people carry money around this day and age really all that often anyway.
If you want to be a douchebag raider, not so much evil, you just kick it over and you laugh. Right. But if you want to be truly evil, you talk to him. Have your buddy come up and steal the kettle and keep him distracted.
Right now, that would be evil. Right,
that would be evil.
That would,
not so much magic evil, but it would definitely.
Be. It's scary that you had that ready so quickly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. What's all that jingling change sound behind you every time you move?
Hey, the old man needs money for the vending machines when I go visit him. I'm just putting it back to good use.
I'm just part of a free market economy over here. Why you busting my balls?
The state's going to get it one way or the other, right? I'm just saying.
Oh my God. Okay.
This model man gets a sandwich out of the deal.
I mean, it's out of a vending machine, is it really?
It's better than what they get.
All right. Well, going with that, let's go into a few of the magic using classes now that we've gone over being dark magic and not playing a shitty bad guy. Obviously, the best known dark magic user in almost all of gaming and literature is necromancy. Sorry, Beyonce is a national treasure. I apologize. But necromancy, clearly everybody knows this. In games, it's often thought of, it's raising the dead for the most part. That's how most people see it. And it is raising the dead, but it's also a lot more. It really has anything to do with like contacting the dead, talking to the spirits of the dead for whatever reason it is, be that talking to a lost loved one, an enemy, or to get predictions of the future from the great beyond. It's not just raising an undead army and things like that. So how necromancy works in animating the dead, it's often the necros will keep the body going. Often what the limiting factor is to raising how dead is their willpower. That's what's really keeping the rotting fleshy body alive more than anything else is their willpower. And that's why, and not all lore, but it's always a good limiting factor is the reason, a lot of necromancers can't do like an undead army in roleplay is because, maybe their concentration, they can only do 2 or 3. So they're able to do that, but they really don't. Of course, it does vary from game to game. Things like Elder Scrolls, that's why the Dark Elves, they burn, they cremate everything so that they can't be risen through necromancy. Or they're supposed to anyway. It still happens, but others it kind of turns into just like a basic reanimation, kind of like Walking Dead. You see a lot of NPCs and shit like that. The magic itself is used as like the life force. It's basically their Duracell battery of magic. Or maybe they're pushing like a demon spirit or a demon into the empty vessel. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about with reanimating the dead. That one, it can be so broad given that it'll vary from game to game. Another one is with speaking to the dead and getting information from the beyond. Things like the Witcher universe with both the game and the book series, the Dresden Files. They have variations on the necromancy. The spirits called on would actually contact, you would summon the spirit, you would ask it a question, and then it would go away and contact other spirits.
Is that called scrying?
No, scrying is like seeing. It's like
scrying is for spying.
Yeah, you like it'd be like looking in on somebody in the women's room.
Scrying can also be like looking for something somebody has.
Yeah.
Like, where did I put my mirror?
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, like even in the Dresden Files, when he would scry, like a lady lost her locket, and he would try to scry and find out where it was. That'd be scrying. It's usually scrying is really more like a real time kind of a thing. Like where is it right now, or what's going on over here right now? Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought scrying went into that.
Yeah, it's why it often has to do with like a pool of water or things like that, so that that's what they're looking into and seeing.
Think Galadriel in that pool of water,
right?
And Fellowship, except she was kind of seeing the possible future if she was up
for
some skullduggery.
Yeah, if it went this way, it would end like this. If it went that way, it could end this way. The pensive in Harry Potter was a kind of like a scrying device as well. It just scryed. You put the memories in it, and it let you scry the memories that you put in there. It let you look at it in more detail. That was kind of another scrying device. And that one I would always put to the scrying things, actually. Those seem like a neutral thing, because they could really be used for good or evil. It really just depends on your intent. Like raising the dead, typically there's not a lot of good intent. They maybe trying to bring back a loved one seems like a good intent. Still fucking up with the natural laws of things, which never a good idea. It's not worked out too often in the good vein in literature, as far as I'm aware of. Actually, there is only one time I do know that necromancy worked out real well, and that was actually in the Dresden Files. Which necromancy was forbidden, but he didn't use it on people. He actually, they're in Chicago where they have the bones of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he actually necromanced the Tyrannosaur and brought it back to life through necromancy and was riding it down the streets of Chicago. It sounds ridiculous, but trust me, if you ever read the series, it will make perfect sense when you get to it. You'll be like, oh, well, there you go. That's how we get, I forget what the dinosaur, they actually named the dinosaur. It's a real life dinosaur in the real world. The bones are there. I forget what it's called, though. But, so like I was saying, with The Witcher and Dresden Files, you can kind of call on spirits and contact them, and you can ask them questions. The spirits will then go into the beyond and do kind of like a grave game of telephone to get the information. Like they'll ask other spirits, like, hey, do you know so-and-so's location or something like that. Same thing with demons. But of course, everything to do with demons, because as we said, they're kind of evil, can often be
Just
unreliable. Anytime you're dealing with using dark magic and somebody's dealing with a demon, if you're gonna roleplay that out, which typically you don't see it actually happen a lot. Has anybody really ever heard of like somebody roleplaying like, I was talking to my demon friend the other day?
Oh yeah.
Have you? It doesn't happen too often.
Dramora and Daedra here. But
right, but...
Yeah. There's people that play them.
Yeah, there's that.
Actually.
Well, yeah. There's that, too. So, yeah. But, if you're going to get information from a demon or, Elder Scrolls of Daedra, which is basically the same thing, if you're going to play that, like, oh, yeah, he's 100% reliable and I can trust everything he says, probably not a really good demon. They're supposed to not really be, they have to be coerced and bribed and bullied into doing the correct thing. They don't do it willingly, typically. At least none of the demons I know. Most of them are in upper management where I work. But, they can eventually do the right thing. It just takes a while. So after Necromancer, it's kind of the next step in that. It would be the Lich, which, fun fact, looked up, is Old English for the word corpse. Lich actually is corpse.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, that's a fun thing. So yeah, like I said, but beyond necromancers are liches. Basically, they're just necromancers that use the magic on themselves, or maybe they were corrupted by it. They also have expansions named after them. If you're in World of Warcraft, the biggest difference between the two is that a lich is also often able to come back, or maybe transfer its essence into something else and cheat death. It's makes them kind of hard to kill. I've heard they can be a little difficult. I think Gandalf killed one, didn't he? Wasn't that like where he ran off?
So, yeah.
He fucked
Killed
off
a Balrog.
No. There was a space in between. I thought The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. When remember in The Hobbit they were talking about this a necromancer or something like that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And he actually ended up going to defeat that, and then I think they retell that. They actually told that in like the 15-part Hobbit movies.
I think they did.
Yeah, they stretched that on. They weren't great movies. It should have just been one book, one movie. But so the liches, they're like sentient undead. Basically, they're more powerful. They no longer have the confines of the human body and sleep and things like that. Just it no longer matters to them, and because of that, usually it seems to me that without the feeling and thoughts and, things like hunger and thirst and all that, stuff that makes you a human being or a living person, since elves are not human beings. Don't want to be elfist. Not to be confused with Elvis. They seem, usually it's always like, if you're going to the part where you're actually a lich and you're using the dark magic against you, you've already lost your damn mind. You're giving up your humanity and it just takes everything from you. So I really don't, I was trying to think, and I honestly can't say that maybe, and if they did, they were not memorable. I can't say I've met anyone that played a lich well enough for me to remember it. Has anybody come across that themselves?
Which part?
Someone playing a lich.
Yes.
Necromancer, I have, but lich.
I have
They're all
actually
over the
on
place,
several
man.
occasions.
Yeah, I know I've come across them, but like I said, I don't have a good memory if they don't keep it
It's like
memorable.
vampires.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's overdone. There's a very few folks that can do it.
Yeah.
I have people who play a lich as if they're God and feel that their character, because they're a lich, are unstoppable, and they just use it as an excuse to God mod consequences. I don't know. I've never seen someone playing a lich well. So
Right, which unfortunately happens with a lot of evil characters sometimes. Yeah. But so there's this. I wonder if this would work because like you said, a lot of times when they do that, they're like, it's so over the top, and they're not playing it from the perspective of character that yes, you may not be able to die, but you're playing it from somebody writing the character that can't die, as if you were that character, and you'd be like, well, this is what I would do. I think that's where a lot of people kind of get messy with that. But what if there's an anime series, Sib and I have watched it, it's called The Seven Deadly Sins, and each character represents a sin, but one of them is Bond, and he's actually immortal, like seriously immortal, like Wolverine on steroids immortal.
Nice.
And, he's always getting, like, these just horrible death blows, but he's always coming back, but sometimes it takes a little longer than others. I wondered if somebody, he's not unstoppable because he's, stopped quite a bit. He is super strong, and obviously it's anime, so they go way above and beyond the Call of Duty on power levels and stuff like that. But somebody that played that, like, would you roll your eyes at somebody that's like, you stab them in the heart and they die, but like 2 days later you see them like limping around again? What would you do?
Well, if they are a lich, a true lich,
right,
then that makes sense because they have to have a what's the
phylactery.
Word? Phylactery, and if you don't destroy the phylactery, they'll just come back in another one of their bodies.
Right.
So, that makes sense.
But it would require them not to be like you stab them in the chest and they're like they pull it out. This is your knife.
Depending on
like
the lore, you can kill a lich.
Right. Well, I'm talking about like like you don't have the phylactery. You're just in the phylactery's like, I don't know, in their bedroom, and they're downstairs in the bar, and you stab them a couple times, and like, that typical role play thing with somebody that's god modding, where they pull the knife out of their heart and they hand it back to you. Did you drop something?
Not how it works. So if people don't know what liches are, you can kill the body.
Right.
You can kill that person, and they have like extra bodies and things like that. That's how most of the time you look at a lich. They're not invulnerable to being killed.
Right. And that's the thing. Bond, his body regenerates, but like there's times, he was like his head got just taken off and he was out of, given its animes, but even for that, he was out of the fight for a little while his, head regrew.
Right. And see, that's the problem is I think the young people today, the only lore that they know is anime. Which is lore, by the way.
Right, just and it's stretched out to make it super exciting because, of course, the difference to an anime that the guys that they're fighting against are just as, if not more, powerful than they are. Which that's what makes the anime exciting. Now, it doesn't translate into roleplay because you're playing against somebody that's using the lore rules of the game, and you're playing Bond off of,
See,
Seven
the lore
Deadly
works,
Sins.
Like Seven Deadly Sins, that lore works for Seven Deadly Sins.
Right.
Just like Record of Lotus War only works for Record of Lotus War, which is also a great anime. A lot better than
and far more realistic fantasy-wise than a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more D&D.
Very, yeah. Although if she says Parn one more fucking time, I'm going to pull her fucking ears off.
Real, though.
Fine.
Shut up. No, I know you guys haven't seen that one, but the girl in it, she says the main character's name every time somebody farts in his direction. Parn! Like he's about to die.
Yeah.
It's like 15 times an episode, and they're only 22 minutes long, so it gets a little old really quick.
So if you're going off that lore and you're not actually
Right.
respecting the lore of the game, you're going to look like a doofus anyway, no matter what the situation.
No, and it's a good point that you have to respect the lore of the game. I get, you can pull ideas from other things, but you still have to mold, while you take that idea and you mold and shape the lore of whatever you're playing around that. And that will help confine it in a way.
Don't be going into the Ripton bar with your freaking ice materia. Now, if you're playing Final Fantasy VII online, bring that materia all day long. You bring it into the Riften pub, though, you're going to get laughed.
Shoot, you can't even do that in Final Fantasy XIV, bring materia, because it doesn't exist in that world,
Exactly.
Or 11. And they're both online MMOs, but no, the materia doesn't exist outside of, I think 7 was the only one that used it. Yeah. So,
as far as liches go, in our game right now, you have to have a phylactery, and if you destroy their body, they're going to take damage. You take his head off in the bar, it's not going to regrow.
Right.
It's going to probably kill the body.
You'll just have to,
unless you destroy the phylactery, he's coming back.
Yeah, you'll just have to give him a couple days or a day or so or whatever.
Yeah, it takes a couple days usually to make the transition. The typical is 3 days, as we all know. We're infatuated with that particular phrasing. In society, 3 days to do that sort of thing.
I always thought it was 2 weeks, but I think that might just be Funny Farm.
Yeah.
Or not Funny Farm, Money Pit. The Money Pit with Money Pit.
Anywhere from a year to 3 days, and it just kind of depends on the lore you're using.
And usually in roleplay, you're going to go with the 3 days.
Because that makes more sense.
Because waiting a year to pass is not exactly exciting roleplay.
A friend that we used to roleplay with in EQ2 actually put his character on a shelf for 3 months, which is what he said a year was. And played somebody else for a while he waited for his character to regenerate. So
I'll give him for commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'd be bored out of my skull, and I don't like alts, so I won't do that. But then again, I wouldn't have let my character get in that position because of that either.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, with the liches, it's not something that gets played a lot. And if you do, you gotta really you gotta know the necromancy, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I think it's fun to think of these ways. It's the same way people think of like, all right, well, if there was a zombie apocalypse, what would I do to my house to make sure it was safe? Yeah, I've had that conversation in my head too. Really, our only point of weakness, because the backyard is fenced off, is this window here behind me because it faces the front, and I'd have to board it up from the outside.
We all have that conversation at the gun range, man. Everybody talks about zombies.
Yep. Yeah.
They're not real. It's just something fun to talk about.
Yeah. 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 Let's tell that to the CDC. Just saying. They got plans for it. It's out there. So, moving on from liches, the next one would be summoning demons, spirits, things like that. Especially with demons. Demons are kind of a tricky bunch. By the very definition of a demon, demons are evil. They're not good creatures. They're hell spawn. They're evil and, personified. There's really there's not a lot of video games out there where like, oh, the demons are the good guys, unless it's some weird indie thing, and they're like, let's try something different, Typically, they're going to be they're going to want to eat your face. I mean, who doesn't want to eat a little face now and then? Am I right, guys? Anybody?
I saw an Argonian
Is it
with the name Eats All Faces.
Eats All Faces.
That's glorious.
And he ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Oh my God.
But with demons, they come in a lot, just like people. They come in a lot of forms: fat ones, skinny ones, ones that climb on rocks. They can be spirit. They can have a full body, or they can possess people as well. They're just all they come in a multitude of ways. They can be summoned to do your bidding. But you often need two things to do that. One would be their true name, and the other, which is just as important, would be a stronger will than theirs. In most demon lore, the true name is used to bring them forth, and it also helps as a controlling factor for them, again, not to eat your face off. Anybody have a disagreement with that?
No, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
You're summoning a Balor Lord and you didn't write your runes right. He's gonna eat your face.
Yeah.
You better know what you're doing.
Yeah, and you really don't. I don't really see a lot of role players, with the, with that. And I wonder if that's. Do you ever want like the summoning demons, like having a demon following you around as your slave or whatever? I think a lot of that.
Requires you to work with somebody else closely that agrees with what you're doing, and too many role players, particularly ones playing people, do not have anyone that would be willing to follow them around and be a mindless zombie that says nothing. I mean, it's not very stimulating role play.
No, it's not. But even even if you use a lot of the I actually have that in the next part here, so I'll just get to that. The way of actually summoning them too, it also differs. Some of these things will require a sacrifice, blood of the innocent, virgin, goats, cans of Spam, whatever. Others, require like a group of people. Usually there's a circle involved in like chalk or salt or, something like that. Unbroken circles are usually very important to this in summoning things because they also help, depending on the lore again, they help contain it, but they also end up having the containment of the circle, and the power of it is also, again, tied to will, which is one of the most important parts of all of magic. But not a lot of people really do seem to RP these out, because a lot of them are, like you were saying, Jazz, like that would require, if you had a real person do it, I've never seen it for that, but I've seen people do it for slaves, but the slaves can talk back. Right. So that's a little different.
One of my characters is a necromancer, and her ex-husband is her attached person, basically.
That's her pet.
Sort of her pet. But he has his own, because of the curse, he has his own mind and is able to do things. It's been a lot of fun to roleplay. When we do role play, but most people really don't understand why they hate each other, and I think they feel it's too negative, quote unquote, for them. So we don't get to play them, and I'm probably going to just rewrite them.
You keep them because those people are gone.
Well, no, I mean, I'm talking about other than the few people that role play in our guild, largely most people are just like scritch, and they go back to whatever they were doing. They don't know how to take her and his bickering constantly, because they hate each other, but they don't. So I thought it would be a fun role play arc, but it turned out that most people either don't respond to it or don't know how to respond to it. So
I think it was fun. I mean, I hadn't seen him in a while.
I thought it was interesting.
Exactly.
I know you guys did, but other than the 4 or 5 people that I know well, nobody.
I thought it was dreadful and should never be done again.
See, there you go.
I actually I've never seen those characters, so I really don't know.
So I'm thinking about remaking them, and I think we're gonna say that he manages to get free of her to some degree, and
you still going with the thing with Trajan, that being his
that could be possible. That'd
be hilarious.
Yeah, because he's his he's Trajan's great grandfather.
Great grandpappy.
That's his grandma there.
Yikes. In the first age, we weren't a bunch of pansies like you yellow skins today.
But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to find someone to play your minion. And even in my case, we didn't make him mindless because that wouldn't be much fun.
No.
But, the problem is most games, and this one is no exception, pets suck. So there's no way to really RP having a pet unless you have someone agree to play your pet.
Yeah, and even if you have like the demon following you around, like, you know, there are those classes and there's the pet things, but they do wander around aimlessly. But for the most part, I mean, especially around bars and social gatherings, people just get annoyed by pets. They just get in the way. They don't serve a purpose outside of
and
like
most guild houses. Well, in ESO, you can't even have a pet in.
That's
the
true.
guild house.
Yeah, but things that. Go ahead.
I always make sure there's some kind of story behind my little non-combat pet.
Mm-hmm.
That way there's a reason, and it actually contributes rather than just being there looking goofy. For instance, I had this bobcat following Traff around for a while. It was actually Rufus's cousin who was spying on him. And of course, Traff had no idea. He was like, "Oh, this is a great bobcat. He should make a fine addition to my estate." Well, he lost the cat in a friendly wager to Voli. And then the cat decided like living in Voli's house better. So the cat's now over there. It's become a RP thing rather than a distraction.
Yeah,
just how you handle it, right?
Yeah, well, in all things, like, you can explain away almost anything, and you can actually do it fairly easily and fairly well. But even that, you know, if you go out to, you know, the tea house and you got your pet, someone's going to be like, in OOC, your pet's out. Put your pet away. It causes lag. You know, it's just, they just get in the way of everything, at least in roleplay, it seems like. So there's almost no way to, in big gatherings, that people just get annoyed by them. You know, I do. But
and on the summoning, I don't know. Like I saw, it's been a while back, but I saw there was, because you can have morphs in ESO, where you can morph yourself into like a troll or different things,
skins, things like that. Yeah,
skins. And I saw, I think you were there, Jazz, but there was two guys, and I can't remember what one of them was, but the other one was playing a goblin.
Oh yeah, I've got that token.
Were you guys there?
Yeah, I think so.
And, I mean, he was just following the guy around, and he was like his pet, you know.
Yeah, I got that.
Slave.
I got that illusion. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, but I saw somebody playing, like following somebody around, because it was like they were his, you know, they're
like his servant slave guy.
But it was a goblin, not a demon. I mean, there's a difference there, but.
I still think, I think that it can be done, but it does require people to have an understanding with each other. And most RPers, and I shouldn't say that, a lot of our peers are very self-centered and don't like sharing the limelight with anyone else, and they don't like communicating with another person for roleplay.
Yeah, and if they're going to do that, they don't want to be an ugly-ass goblin. They want to be the sexy, nubile, pointy-titted slave girl at his feet or at her feet.
Here's your narcissism right here.
Right. You know, that's, I mean, I've Jazz, you've seen it as much as I have. There's no end to people willing to play slave, people.
Oh, no, there's no end.
There's no end for that.
And they're not really playing slaves, which has always just amused me to no end. So,
well, no,
they're still show up, like, without their masters there and things like that.
Right, they're my slave, but this one talks back, does nothing what I tell it to, and is basically just my wife that I haven't married yet.
Yeah,
it's she treats me like shit. But I'm into that, and don't kink shame me.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. No kidding. That's funny, though.
Going back to the ERP episode. Join us for our Christmas episode, Submissives and Masters. No, kidding.
No, I was going to say
That's not. Let's say we did. Pet peeve of mine.
No, yeah, well, I mean, nothing says the holidays like a ball gag and a Gimp mask, Jazz. I mean, I don't know what you do for your Christmas parties, but...
Right, so dark magic.
We're summoning the ball gag. Shame we didn't get there before the sodomy, though.
Too bad Kishmas could not talk.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd have something to say on that.
So yeah, with the acts of summoning and stuff like that, it will vary in things like that. A lot of times in the games itself, you'll see someone, a lot of times it's NPCs summoning something out there in a circle, and then something, breaks down in the middle of them. Like ESO, those big, the big chain things, those are always done by a summoning. If you get there before all the demons show up, there's a group of idiots that shows up and starts chanting, and then you kill them, and then the demons come out of the sky. which is kind of a cool thing. But that's kind of what the summoning does. But you typically don't see a whole lot of people roleplay out that, and if they do, it seems to be pretty on the down low. Sorry, I keep hiccuping all of a sudden. So moving on from that, with the summoning is sacrifice and blood magic. Blood is very powerful in Magic, and it is usually put in the dark category because typically the people that are giving the blood don't survive, and murdering is never good.
No.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like paladins out there sacrificing halflings to appear their goody good god of choice. It's not like I give you this halfling and spill its blood in the name of peace.
Yeah.
It's not something you typically see a lot of.
Yeah. No. I think that it can be done very well. I've always enjoyed the lore around blood magic, and I enjoy it. A lot of my characters use it.
It was actually because of you that this one popped in my head, because you've used it so much. I was like, and it's used a lot in all stuff.
A lot of people do not realize how evil it is. I mean, they're just like, oh, okay,
blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't think that, well, where did she get the blood?
Mm-hmm.
And like, Vaka was insidious. She had blood samples from every single person in her guild. And I said that once, Osili, to someone, and they're like, she doesn't have my blood. And I said, sure she does. And they were like, no, she doesn't. How did she get my blood? And I reminded her, you get cut when you join the guild. Remember? White cloth, press into wound, the cloth disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, where do you think that cloth went? In her pocket. Hello.
No, it went into the incinerator and then a biohazard bag, and then was safely taken away by your local EPA.
Yeah. No.
No? Oh, wow. I had that totally wrong.
Yeah, totally wrong. So, Vaka had samples of everyone in the guild, and she could use it to scry you. And she used it to make your amulet.
Mm-hmm. To connect it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was all a lot of fun, but it was something that I did a lot of research on that I enjoyed.
Yeah, so, and in dark magic, too, like, blood, just blood in general, it's typically used for dark magic, but it can actually be used for good things, like for finding people if you've got a sample of their blood and things like that, if they're in danger.
Case in point for the bad way of using it. Back in the day, when Rengots was still mortal and up to no good, he was literally trying to overthrow Xanis because he wanted his spot.
And he was so amazing.
And then he tried to burn the place down. But he's playing this game of seduction with Vakarina, and she had convinced him, hey, we're going to play a little game. And she painted these blood runes on his chest. And he didn't think anything. I was like, okay, she's going to play some stupid game. I'm still winning the whatever. Well, those little runes made him tell the truth. And he only found this out when it was too late. And she started asking certain questions, and his whole plot was revealed. She was so infuriated, she cut the blood runes into him, which then mixed with his blood, and then she had a walking, talking puppet for years.
Mm-hmm. All of which you agreed to. Right.
Well, yes. I asked him before I ever did anything, because we had been role-playing for a while, but I didn't talk to him much OOC at that point. We just would talk briefly. But this was where, I was like, this is going to be important, so you can say no and I'll stop it, and we'll just say that this game ends here, but this is what I have planned. And he was like, that's cool, so we went on with it.
Yeah, it made sense, so you go with it.
Yeah, and if you didn't trust her enough to do that at the time, which there's going to be people, like, you guys had known each other by years by then, but if it had been 1 month into you having role played together, you'd have been like, how about no?
Exactly.
And that's the big difference on that stuff. But with
it's part of the developing story, and yeah, I mean, that's some dangerous freaking magic right there if you're not careful.
And blood is typically in everything. It's a very, very powerful component in dark magic. It can be used in everything from potions, summoning, tracking spells, curses. You want something nasty done, you kind of spill the blood of the innocent. And, it works great in-game. And also for getting that special promotion at work you've always been looking at. Just saying. But in the Dresden, like I'm using this, I learned a lot of magic from the Dresden Files, clearly, because he did his research. I've actually gotten to I've met Jim Butcher and gone when he came here to Broken Arrow up at NSU and actually got to listen to him talk for 2 hours. And it was supposed to be one of those things. He's a nerd, he's a gamer. He does LARPing. He's got a gaming rig. He's one of us basically. And he was supposed to read, you go to these things with writers and they're supposed to read their book for the audience, and it's supposed to be cool. And he's like, I mean, everybody in here has read my books, right? And we're like, yeah. He's like, all right, so how about I just take questions that you guys have for the next 2 hours? That sound cool? Everyone go with that? And everyone's like, all these hands go up, But I asked him the question of, the way he does things like potions and stuff. There's 5 components to it. There's a spiritual, there's a physical, there's a mental, there's all these different things that go into the potions and stuff like that. And I asked him, how is it that the way your magic works in the Dresden Files is so in depth? How'd you come up with it? And he says, I read. He actually gave me the name of the book, and I can't remember it now. But he read like a dozen different books and things like that, and he took based off of real life, and he simplified it a great deal and took out the boring parts, with the cleansing yourself for 15 hours or with stuff like that. But he just took stuff from the real world and just kind of simplified it and broke it down into its most interesting components, and then combined it all. And one of the things that happens a lot in the Dresden Files is how powerful, very powerful, not just blood, but, just like any part of a human body can be, like hair follicles, at least for a wizard, nail clippings, things like that. The wizards are always very careful, because if you leave any part of that behind, especially blood, you can be tracked, you can be cursed from long distance. They don't have to be right there in front of you to do it, because what was once part of you is always basically part of you until it breaks, it decomposes or breaks down back into its natural states of, in components of chemicals or elements and things like that.
That's how those vengeful demons that you banished for another 1,000 years, if somehow find their way back to your plane, get your comeuppance on you, because they find that stuff.
What was the Drisdo Erden, that one demon from the Icewind Dale? He defeated it. He banished it. Somebody called it later, and he when it got called on, man, it tracked him the fuck down and went right back after him. Tried to make him pay.
I remember him well.
Yeah, but with him. Not to ruin too much of the Dresden Files if you haven't read it, it's only been out for like 20 years now. But the very first one, it used, he was trying to solve it. He's a detective, he's a private investigator, and he was trying to solve a murder on why the chest of a person who was, they were in the middle of lovemaking and stuff like that, but their chest literally exploded from the inside out with no way of doing it, and the amount of magical energy needed was immense, for one, and I won't say exactly how they managed to get that much energy, but it was tied to the fact that they also had that person's blood, so they were able to do it from miles and miles away instead of doing it right there in front of them, and that's because the blood tied directly back to the body it had originated from, and especially the heart, and having your heart explode from the inside of your chest, like with the power of a grenade, will ruin your love life. Yeah, it is not the end of what you would call the most romantic evening ever.
No.
It's like a chest burster without the bug.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, at least you went out with a smile on your face until like the last 5 seconds, but still. Because the brain does take about 10 seconds to 15 to die, but that's let's not go into that. So with the last bit of this, I mean, there's so many different ways that dark magic can be used. We're just kind of hitting the basics in a lot of this, really, and this is still going in depth compared to what we've done before. Kind of following up. I mean, it's the caboose of dark magic, but we have to still hit it. Vampires and Lycan.
Oh man,
I know, but Lycan really isn't so much evil as it is, I think, a disease. It seems to me.
I really don't feel that. either of them are inherently evil.
In this one, I think these two depend more than almost anything else heavily on the game's lore.
Yes, it does.
On how it is, because
the game lore says that they're evil, then they are, but the afflictions themselves are not necessarily evil.
Yeah, a lot of times they're created through it. Like Mayong Mistmore and EverQuest, that was an act of, evil and all that. It was selfishness in a lot of ways. But it was, not necessarily the best intents. And then from there on, it was just like, well, it's like a disease more than anything.
Yeah, vampirism, I think, is more inherently evil than werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
Just because most lore puts them as just eating animals, just a lot of them. And they only kill or eat human, mortals, if they have to, if they're crossed.
You mean werewolves?
Werewolves.
Okay,
Vampires.
Yeah, right. Okay, I get you.
Pretty much have to feed on people. So I think there's far more of a evil to them overall, regardless of the lore, unless the lore says they just eat, they suck the blood out of puppies and no one else. Which I don't see. Although you always have the vegan vampires, and the vampires that only feed on squirrels.
Vegan vampires?
Oh, yes. Don't get me started.
Thank you very much for following, Akulan. Appreciate that. Go ahead. Sorry.
But, I've seen people play werewolves that only attack people, which would make them inherently evil. And I see people that primarily play werewolves that only attack creatures and eat creatures, and a lot of them. But, would not be what I would consider to be inherently evil. But yeah, it comes down to lore. It comes down to how you
greatly down to lore. Like, if you want to get into there was werewolves in Iron Druid, the book series, the Iron Druid Chronicles, and they were largely a pack mentality, but they just like the wolves and things like that. But they were about running, with each other, running in nature, and keeping each other safe from outside means that wanted to destroy them. They actually didn't seek the fights, but it was the werewolf propaganda basically that made them come out as evil, but they would defend themselves if someone came after them. What was that? True Blood was another one where the werewolves. It was actually very similar. They were at pack mentality, and now given some of them were criminals, but that was just them being human douchebags and pieces of shit.
That wasn't really evil. That's just,
right.
Yeah.
Right. They were doing evil acts of crime, but not because they were werewolves, just because they were criminal humans, and it just happened to have a god complex because they were also werewolves. I guess that could influence your mind when the great power comes great responsibility, and absolute power corrupts absolutely kind of a thing. Yeah. But that wasn't because of them being werewolves. It's like
Cial is evil because she is a heartless assassin, not because she is a werewolf.
Not because she just happens to be a heartless assassin that's also a werewolf.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the best ways, I think, the way the Buffy the Vampire series handled vampires and why they did that stuff, I thought was actually good, because it was actually, when you got bit, it wasn't, you got the vampirism as well, but it actually, your soul left when you happened. You basically lost your soul. Your soul was damned, and you were actually replaced with a demon. Another one, what was it? The Zombie Fallout. There's actually, I know it's Zombie Fallout, but there's vampires in it as well. It goes off the rails, but it's always excellent. But when you're turned, you're basically, it's an act of evil. There's a dual soul in there as well, and it damns your human and mortal soul. Given that you don't have to do bad things, but without the confines of a soul, and also knowing there's no eternal judgment that's going to end up in your favor, it typically makes most of them pieces of shit assholes that are bent on they're human or cattle, and that's how that goes. So
and I'm sure to other vampires they're not evil.
No, it's just
but to the
cattle.
People, the mortals, they certainly would be considered evil in its perspective, really.
Oh, which, by the way, Strafe, she's finished Castlevania.
I did.
Speaking of doing a vampire Dracula Lord correctly, if you haven't, we'll avoid spoilers here. We'll talk spoilers after the show, I'm sure, but if you want to see how vampires, especially like a Dracula character, is done right, go watch the animated Netflix show of Castlevania. That is how you do. And he's even got the the lovelorn loss of his wife and things like that. But he is still a fucking vampire. He is Dracula incarnate. It's probably one of the best interpretations of a real badass vampire that had loved and lost and just lost all will to continue on and wanted to wipe out all the humans and all this and that. But he's both sympathetic and a terrifying character at the same time. Especially when he starts, there's always one irritating vampire character or other vampire character. And when he gets onto him, you're just like, damn.
Yeah, it was good.
When he gets, I think it's Godbrand is the irritating one.
Yeah, Godbrand was a typical idiot role player we see playing a vampire.
But he's a Viking. We like to make boats, But it's a really
and sleep with everything.
There's nothing in this castle you haven't dreamt, fucked, or made a boat out of.
Yeah, that was a great
I'm
line.
a fucking Viking. We like boats. But it's an excellent series to show really, if you want inspiration for a real good vampire, especially in this modern age of the sissified Twilight vampires and like the true love, True Blood. Thank you, True Love. True Love. Of course, your friend said to blave, which, as we all know, means to bluff. So clearly, he was in the middle of a card game when he died. Liar! Liar! He said true love. Sorry, Princess Bride.
Nerd.
I know, I could quote that. Get back out of here, witch. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. But after what I just heard, I don't think I even want to be that anymore.
Yeah, that was like the best movie ever. I recently bumped into somebody I work with who's never seen it.
Oh, see, I can forgive people that haven't seen it. I cannot forgive anybody that's seen it and didn't like it.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome movie. I don't see how anybody couldn't like it and watched it.
And Jazz, you'll need to watch the new Once Upon a Deadpool trailers because he has Fred Savage tied to that bed for their PG-13 version of Deadpool as an adult. Like adult Fred Savage. Yeah. I'll link it to you afterwards. But that's if anybody out there that's really wanted to play a vampire and you're kind of like, it's just so cheesy. Honestly, if you want inspiration, watch that Castlevania series because it really, it made me want to be like, if I played a vampire, I want to play a vampire like that guy. He doesn't need to prove how strong he is unless somebody comes at him first. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. You can have all the other stuff and all this and that. You'll have to tone down the fact that you're the first original vampire, but it is an excellent inspiration on how to do
even
that. Even
Alucard was pretty excellent.
Oh, Alucard was great. He
was my favorite part of that whole show.
Alucard reminded me so much of your stupid character, Trithalis.
Which character?
Trithalis.
Oh, Trath? Dude,
yeah.
It was like Trath.
It really was. It was like vampire Trath. It really was. It really did remind me a lot of that.
Look at that sword. He's even freaking doing the freaking haughty moves. Like I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, they did a very good job on that. But and hopefully, they had the Camilla, or is it Camilla or Carmilla? They always seem to.
I think it was Camilla.
Is it Camilla? Yeah, but she's really good in it. They did such a good job on that.
They set it up for good for season 3, and even the good guy Alucard, even he's kind of lovelorn because he's kind of lost his folks. Like,
yeah. They had some good character development. You can do that kind of stuff even with an evil character. They can still, the whole reason Dracula did what he did was, because he had loved and he had lost, but he didn't know how to handle that. He was emotionally, he was an old man, and he was basically, but he was emotionally kind of unstable. He didn't know how to handle that kind of human loss because he wasn't human. How would something so outside of human existence know in basically evil? He controls demons of the night and all this kind of stuff, and he didn't know what to do. So he did the only thing he could do, and that was genocide. Genocide.
Also proves that a cool vampire can also be cool with a good friend that's also a hunter. Just saying.
Yeah, and actually, Alucard was he was hanging out with two humans, and Dracula had his human friends that as well.
He was hanging out with a Belmont, no less, and that's epic
Well,
vampire.
and even Dracula, he had two humans hanging out with him, that weren't part of his court, but they had gained each other's trust in their own ways, for their own, given very dark and horrible reasons, but they were all treated badly by humanity, and that gave them a common purpose and goal, and that's a fantastic way to play.
That was a great
any
arc.
evil character.
That whole business for those two characters you're talking about.
Yeah, so if anybody ever wanted inspiration, man, that is definitely a series to at least take a look at. I mean, it's a lot more detailed than the video games, which are just, Metrovania kind of side-scroller things. I've heard really good things about Symphony of the Night story, but I never played it. I didn't have one of those consoles at the time, and I've not played it since. But
I have, that was a hard game.
Yeah, it's not. They're also not easy games. That's the other problem, and I don't have that kind of fucking time anymore to.
I will say,
sit
out of
through
pure
a difficult
nerddom,
game.
and a few scenes especially when I saw Belmont get his crazy whip, and they start fighting.
The Morning
Like
Star.
the music from the game, that I was like, yes, I could hear it in my head. Such a great.
Yeah, but no, it was a good. As anime goes, especially, or it's American anime, but still very good storytelling, and it didn't go very fast either. It wasn't. It was
a slow pace.
Yeah, had some good character building stuff. But all right, well, I think that about covers it all. Since we started a little late because somebody doesn't know how the fucking mute button works on the desktop and mic audio, which I apologize for, but. I think that about covers it for a lot of the dark magic stuff. There's always more we can go into. Oh, actually, there's one thing. Meant to add this. Jazz is something you had mentioned in last episode. The dark magic healing. How would you describe people going about that? Because we know how it could go.
Healing.
Yes, because we've ran into the people that do.
Yes. Because the only way a necromancer can heal is taking the wound into themselves. That I don't really think they transfer the damage to themselves and then they heal themselves through dark magic. So it's incredibly inefficient way to heal somebody.
And it's actually at least in EverQuest, it's actually a game mechanic for necromancers where they damage themselves, but that gives them the mana to also heal them. Yeah, it's a weird.
On Unali, I could heal someone, but it took like half my health.
Right, that was it. You healed with your health.
And I didn't do it very often, mind you, but if the healer couldn't cut it, or the healer was dead and we were about to die and wipe...
Right, or they just needed an extra little boost and you're off on the side save.
And I have the ability to do that, and that was great. And I also like the healers could raise people who were unconscious. So, which I always thought was really
Quick, healer, raise that necromancer. He's down.
Yeah, the necromancer reaches over. I'll take care of this. You are mine. Yeah.
Your soul is mine.
Yeah. But... I mean, in this game, they don't really have necromancers.
No. Well, they do, but they're not as a class.
Right, they're not as a class. And I think that they should. I feel that it's grossly unfair that they don't have it because they have it as a mob. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to have something akin to that. The pets are basically...
Because we've only got 4 classes, and they only just now, 4 years later, added a warden class, which nobody asked for.
I know. So,
necromancer would have been much better.
Like, I play one of my mages as a necromancer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the healing part, though, I think you could probably, if you used like a dark god or you used your summoning power to increase blood flow, maybe. I mean, there are ways to do it.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be pretty creative in the process because dark magic in and of itself is not restorative. So
right, it's not.
I want to say something on that topic too.
No.
Yes, I'm going to.
Speak.
Thank you, Jazz.
Yes.
Okay, we did a book series, and for the life of me, I cannot think of what it is. You'll probably remember it, Ashen. But the necromancer, or I can't even think if you remember if he was a necromancer or not. But he would take the life of somebody else, hold it, and if somebody needed healing, he would touch him and he would heal him. What is that book series?
Well, that was kind of like necromancers could use those in EQ2. They had those stones they could hand out that had life in them.
Yeah.
And when you charged your stones, you took a little life.
They're
from
basically
everybody.
soul crystals. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. But you were taking life from everyone, a little bit of life from everyone, and filling the crystals, and then you let them out.
There was I can't remember. I know I remember it, but I can't. There was actually for another. That made me realize this. It was a very short-lived HBO series. I think it only got 2 seasons, called Carnival. And the kid it was back during the time of the Depression, followed a carnival. But kid was basically supposed to be a Christ-like figure, and he can heal. But what happened every time he would heal somebody or like cure a disease or something like that? One of the best scenes is that somebody had they were on the verge of death. They'd been shot by someone or stabbed or something, and they were in a cornfield. And the kid got to him in time. He's 20-year-old something. Laid his hands on him and started to heal him. And the guy takes in that big deep breath at the very end of the episode, and then it slowly pans out, and that cornfield starts to wither and die and turn black in a giant circle, and it goes about it kills everything within like a mile radius of them.
Oh, it's like the Green Mile then.
Kind of like, well, in the Green Mile, he took it into himself and then he expelled it, though, and it just wore him out. Right. But this actually, like, if there had been people there nearby, it basically, he sucked the living energy out of everything around him.
Oh, my goodness.
To put it into that. In a lot of ways, yeah. Of course, it affected Korn, but...
The book was Ascend Online.
Oh, Ascend Online.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a very... Because it basically is an MMO.
It's a virtual. It's kind of like Ready Player One. There's a first virtual MMO, and they're learning the game. Basically, throws you into it without telling you anything of how it works or the class skills. It's actually a very good series.
It's a very good series.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, he would.
Yeah, he would touch. He was. I can't remember what class he was. I want to say it was a necromancer. It was down a necromancer line.
Yeah.
But he would touch like an enemy or something, and he could heal his allies.
Yeah, he would suck the life. Yeah, that's right. He was and he even said it's a very inefficient way of healing, because it was physically painful to him too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he would suck the energy out of one thing, hold on to it, and then put it into something else. And like you say, Jazz, very inefficient. But as a dark healer, that might actually it's kind of goes with our thing of power and consequences too. If you're going to do that, but you're, given it might be it was very potent, and he was very good at it. Like what he healed, it healed like boom, it was just healed. Mm-hmm. But you also had to, in this, in the form of killing, you basically had to sacrifice one thing to give life to another.
Always a consequence.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which is something you always want in roleplay. And dark healing, especially more than the light side and faith magic, should definitely have more of a consequence, because you're doing something almost the very antithesis.
Yes.
Could not get that word out. Antithesis to what it is you're supposed to be doing, which is taking life, not giving it. So taking it and then giving it back is, there should be a kind of a consequence to using a dark magic like that. But what made me think of this was when Jazz had said, because we to the point where I think you had almost, you banned it from healers. They weren't allowed to be healers in your guild anymore. And given, yes, you can't ban people from doing what they want. Yeah, you know what? When it's your guild and it's caused nothing but problems and stupidity,
the thing is we didn't ban it OOC.
Right, but 3 years of that in character, you got fucking tired of it.
Yes. ICELY, yes, it was banned. OOCly, we were like, you can do whatever you want.
Just don't bring that shit in here. Wipe your feet.
You can't use this kind of healing in our guild as a healer, and if you do, you'll be banned from the clinic. Very simple.
But yeah, they
like you said, you just got sick of it.
they would. It would be.
And they weren't even necromancers when they were doing it.
No,
so.
it was some of them. A lot of them weren't even really dark magic users. They were just.
No,
it was
a wardens and shit, and they were doing this stupid crap. And
it was basically so someone comes in with a broken leg, and they lay their hands upon them, and they pull and they mend the leg, but that has to go somewhere. That pain can't just go dissipate into the universe. So they do the only thing they can do to heal this person. They sacrifice their leg, which instantly breaks, and they basically just transfer the fucking injury to somebody else. It doesn't solve the problem; it just transfers the attention from one person to the other. And
but then they get attention, man.
Right, they're stealing the attention is what they're doing, and it was just like
it's attention magimagic.
I got a title for it, guys. It's Attention Vampire. There you go.
Attention Vampire.
You heard it first, folks.
Attention Vampires.
Right.
But yeah, that was healing with dark magic. That was I knew I was forgetting something. I'm glad I remembered that at the end. So yeah, and it can be done. Like I said, the Carnival thing, man. That one was very powerful. It was a really cool scene. It was a really weird show because it followed a bunch of carnival people, and they had this. There was an evil preacher guy that was the preacher was basically the devil, and this kid was kind of the Christ-like figure. It was a really weird dichotomy, and taking place in the background of the Great Depression and this weird
and the
carnival.
Dust Bowl and all that.
Yeah, exactly, and actually has some Dust Bowl scenes in it and stuff too. But it was only two seasons, but man, that was a good show. Good show. Very highly underrated. So with that, I think that about covers it. Anybody got final words before I hit up the show for next week?
I think I would just like to say that if you're going to do magic, at least try to understand the magic that you've chosen to do and what it means and how it works in lore.
Mm-hmm. Both good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, if there are no illusionists in game, you can't be an illusionist.
Right.
I mean, well, I'm a special mage. I can do this. No. But there are illusionists in game in ESO, so it works. But
right, and in EQ,
in EQ in a lot of games.
But you go to Lord of the Rings Online, no illusionists. Yeah, you got a burglar. So, you don't have a thief. You have a burglar.
Burglars.
I always thought of Lotro as just like this massive PG-13 effort that largely failed.
I wouldn't even give it PG-13.
No, it's just PG. I had a lot of trouble in that game for that reason because there was no evil, and I need evil. So
yeah, but really, I mean, for that one, it gets a pass kind of because really, Lord of the Rings, other than Sauron himself, there really isn't like an overarching evil, and outside of him, it's just it's kind of just like everyday. There's kind of good.
There's some people with questionable morals, but they're not evil. There's no evil in the game other than the really big bad guys and the orcs. So, it was...
It takes it from us.
Yes, it was really hard for me because there... And then you saw people who actually were playing vampires and stuff in Lord of the Rings. Happened. But there's just... Lord of the Rings was very limiting for me because you basically just had to play a person that was there and was a nice person that was just trying to get by. And maybe they were a thief or something, but that was
and maybe the worst they did was smoke weed all day.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. So it wasn't... I remember we had to play Lotro because EQ shut down, remember, for that whole summer.
That was that summer of DDoS attacks, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, no, then they got hacked really bad.
And it was part of it. Oh, okay. By the way...
hacked and they shut down the game completely.
I hate to say this because it's bringing that up. Did you see what happened again this week?
No, I didn't.
Daybreak Games laid off another 60 to 70 employees this week.
Of course they did.
The ship is sinking.
It's the same time as last year, too, right before Christmas.
Of course, they're so
evil. They are a bad company.
They're just bad.
Obviously,
bad.
Obviously, they're dealing in the dark arts. I mean,
just sell the fucking IPs already.
I'm going to say this because my husband will laugh because he does listen to us eventually.
Sorry, Jay.
He will laugh at this, but his current employer, one of his current contract employers, laid him off the week before Christmas. Way back.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a really rough Christmas, and we had a really rough, probably 4-month stretch while we worked on stuff. And then they ended up hiring back because, oops, they hired the only person that really knew what they were doing and could do what he did for the price that he needed. When they priced it out, they found that everyone else was more expensive. So they hired him back. And yeah. And I've never liked the boss ever since. So one day about, I don't know, it was about 3 years ago. He called the house for something, I don't know what. And we actually had a phone at some point. And I had picked up his phone, Jason's phone, and answered it. And he was like, I say Jason's phone. And he was like, I need to speak to Jason. And I was like, okay, who is this? And he told me who it was. And I'm like, oh, it's you. I handed the phone and I said, it's your asshole boss. And I walked away. And he heard me and he was like, she's never going to forgive me, is she?
No, you're basically fucked for life.
Like, no, honey, it's
she's got the memory of an elephant that's been doing the same memory drug from Flowers for Algernon. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm never going to forgive that bastard for laying off and ruining my son's
reference.
And yeah, really pissed me off. So I've never forgiven him, and every now and then he calls, and I'll talk to him, and I'm just like, it's him.
You.
I'll hand him the phone, and he just always is like, man, she just never lets go.
To go along with what Sid was doing, stupid fat hobbitses, you ruined it. But all right, well, I think that covers the dark side of things. Yep. Next week will be let me make sure. Yeah, it's going to be our last episode for the year. We're not going to do it on the 22nd because the 25th is the Christmas. Most people during the weekend we've got family stuff. Then the next weekend after that, there's not really any point because I'm going to be crazy busy with work and stuff like that, and then New Year's. So we probably won't be back until the 5th of January in the brand new year after next week.
Woo!
But if we are...
we still got one episode left.
Oh, okay. I'll wait
kids.
For that next
Yeah,
time.
that's because I'm preparing people.
Do have a surprise Christmas show, Frostfell show, whatever you want to call it. I will be live from the border. Just let me know.
That's right. Yeah. No, I think we'll have next week, and next week we're actually going to do. This is the order I did it in for a reason. Is we're going to do the good side of magic, which will include things like faith magic. See, time of the year, which works for all religions or global warming. I just do that for jazz. I just look irritating
love
here.
it.
But no, it's we're going to try to have a positive episode. We're going to read, do a few things. I actually have I think will be a very interesting advertisement for next week, which I believe a lot of people, especially those fond of Westeros in Game of Thrones, will appreciate. So tune in for that. But yeah, we're gonna have a positive episode, go over good magic, a couple neutral magics and things like that, nature and things like the like of elements and things in that vein. So join us next week for that. It'll be the third and final episode on magic before we end the year, and come back with brand new style of show. And hopefully I want to kind of reinvent the show every year, like a different theme, different things like that. I'm sure you've noticed from last year to this year we added more people. Next year we'll probably have Yoon Faye as a regular host. Just kind of 3 chicks and 3 dudes, you know what I'm saying? All right, it's gonna be a party in here. We're all married or single or living nowhere near one another. One of the two in combination.
Sad face.
Sorry, buddy, but we will hire you one of those Miku hologram robots and send it down to you in Texas.
No, I don't.
And then you can get the
bro.
marriage license, and you will live happily ever after.
I do not marry the Cylons, bro, unless they're the blonde-headed version, and even then, it's questionable.
And she's got to come with the red dress, right?
Gotta come with the red dress and the
Right.
and the glowy spine. I'm
There
just saying.
you go. All right. Well, we'll see what we can do for you. But, all right. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. RPMMORadio. Blah, 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 blah.
Later, everybody.
You know who we are. Be sure to follow us.
Bye.
Oh, and thank you, Death Eater Vol. Appreciate that you love the show. You know what? We love you. I'm not like in a platonic way. I'm married. I mean, I'm happily married. It is I understand if you are falling in love with me. It is just a cross that I have to bear. Clearly looking the way I do. I just beating
what did you do?
Women off with a stick.
There. I'm sorry. Run. Run fast away.
It's just, Strafe, you understand, as another good-looking young male of a certain height. It's just the bitches. I mean, am I right? I mean, or the dudes.
Not wrong.
I don't judge. I mean, the dudes too. I mean, I'm not here to judge. I'm not gay, but I'm willing to learn.
When you got it, you got it, man. You just got it.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I mean, I get it. We all have our crosses to bear. We all have our crosses.
What were we thinking?
He's the best boss. He's got all the good looks.
That's
the best.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He does it under time.
Yeah, and you know what? And these are normal sized hands. I don't care what anyone says. These are normal sized hands.
Oh my god.
They're the best hands. They're the greatest hands. Everybody says so. All right, enough of this bullshit. Again, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate everybody. I spit on my screen. That's gross.
Tune in next time.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning into RPMMORadio. Remember, follow us over at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio. Join us on our Discord, rpmmoradio.com/Discord. Talk to us through the week. If you got show ideas, things like that for next year, honestly, what you do like, what you don't like about the show, things that you might like to see improved, or things that you'd like to see more of or less of, we can get rid of Kishmas if you want. It's fine. Or Strafe, or Jazz, or Sib, or me. I mean, any one of us we're all expendable. The only one that's not expendable is Dardar. That's right. We're not expendable here. I'm going to be here all next year.
The Rufus needs to meet the Dardar.
No, shut up, stupid. Nobody's talking to you. So tune in next time for halflings and why all of them are already dark spawns of the universe, like in that classic movie Howard the Duck. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Good night, everybody. My dogs look at me like I got a mental disorder. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPM Radio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.